Hi there, today I'm going to show you how to replace the fuel line on your Tecumseh SNOWKING snowblower engine. First you want to start by removing these two screws. There'll be another one over here, and there will be another one up top here. This is the engine I'm going to use to do this today. It's the same principle. The fuel line goes in the exact same spot. So once you've removed the two screws here and the other two, this cover is going to come off. You also want to remove the choke knob just by pulling on it. You'll notice that the wire from the key is hooked on to this cover, so just simply loosen this screw over here. You don't need to remove the screw completely, just loosen it and then the hook's going to come out like that. We're also going to remove this shroud here, so there's going to be two bolts here and one down here and one down over there on the other side. So these bolts up top here are 1/2 inch in size. The next bolt we're going to remove is right down here, and it's a 7/16. And the last one is right down here underneath the gas tank. So now this shroud should come off. Don't forget that the linkage is still hooked up on the car, so I'll show you how to take that off. Next I'm going to remove the linkage here from the speed control. Remember which hole you take it out of, because you want to put it back in the exact same place. To remove this, I'm just going to slide it out like this and turn it like that, and the whole shroud's off. I'm just going to mark with a marker where the linkage was in, like that, so that I'm 100% sure when I put it back it's in the right place. Now you'll notice on the Tecumsehs that the fuel line starts over here, works its way behind this little panel, and goes all the way back there to the fuel tank. Now sometimes the fuel line gets hard and brittle and you're able to just pull it out like that. If the fuel line is stuck to the connector, you want to go with a X-Acto knife and just put a little slit in it so that you don't pull off the connector off the fuel tank. I've seen people pry them and actually rip off the connector, and it's a bit more difficult to fix up. You can start by removing the fuel clip that is still on the fuel line on this side. Next I'm just going to pull on the fuel line to get it out. So I managed to get the fuel line out all in one piece, and I'm going to use that as a template to measure out my new fuel line. So this is the fuel line I'm using. It's made by Goodyear, and it's a 1/4 inch inside diameter. You don't need to go buy Tecumseh fuel line for that. This is a fraction of the price, and you can buy it at an auto parts store like Napa. So I'm going to start by removing the old fuel line from the fuel valve. Just removing the old clip, then gently turn, make sure it's not so jammed that it breaks the fuel valve. Then I'm going to pull out. It's actually so tight that I'm going to make a little slit with the X-Acto knife. Don't go in too deep because you don't want to cut the fuel valve connector. So just make one, turn it over, make a second one, and now it should come off pretty easy. And there we go. Might have to do the same for the other one. Okay, so this one came off. These fuel valves here are very handy. If you don't have one on your blower, now is a good time to put one on. It's very good when you put your machine away. You can turn the fuel valve off and burn whatever gas is left in the carburetor. I'm just going to measure out my fuel line. You can use side cutters too to cut the fuel line if you prefer. And now for the long fuel line. So now what you need to do with the new fuel line is to insert it in behind this guard and run it all the way to the carburetor over here. So I'm going to start at this end. It goes back here to protect the fuel line from the flywheel. And there's also a little guard in between there. Here, right up top, and the fuel line has to go behind that as well. So it's a bit tricky, you got to run it all the way through. If you find it hard to do this, you can use a screwdriver to push it back. Now it's got to go behind here. If it's a motor with points, you're going to have your spark plug wire here. On the new machines, the coil will be up here. So just make sure the wire's out of the way here and just push the fuel line. So I'm going to put a fuel clip on here. It's easier if you put the fuel clip on now. And put it back a little ways so that you can insert the fuel line on the connector. Once you've got the fuel line flush over here, just reinsert your fuel clip. You want to make sure that it's tucked in behind all the little metal plates, as you can see in there. And it's going to go back to the fuel tank.